MESA Chair David Daugherty, as well as the current MESA Chair Gary Newton. And they'll be giving us an updated presentation on MESA. David Daugherty joined the Rotary Club of Inkster, Michigan in 1974 and was also a member of the Hartford, Connecticut and Mansfield, Ohio Rotary Clubs before he joined our club last July. He's a multi-term past president, served as district governor of District 6600 in 2008 and 2009. He was a chairman of All Ohio Pets in 2010, delegate to the 2013 Council on Legislation at Rotary International in Chicago, and of course, he was a past MESA chair. David is involved as an associate member of the Rotary E-Club of Motorcycling Rotarians and is a member of the International Federation of Motorcycling Rotarians in North America. This past Friday, David and his wife Jennifer celebrated their 1-year anniversary of moving to Evansville, Indiana, where they've been spending lots of quality time with their granddaughters and their parents. Gary Newton has been a Rotarian since 1996. He's a current member of the St. Mary's Rotary Club and a past member of the Northmont Club in District 6670. He has served both clubs as past president, board member, and on many committees. Gary served as district governor of District 6600 in 2015 to 2016, chief of staff, and on several district conference committees. He is the current district chair for MESA. Gary is a former CPA and owned Newton's Bookstore in Englewood, Ohio for 19 years. Gary and his wife Debbie are the proud parents of 4 children living in Ohio, Colorado, Texas, and California, and they have 6 grandchildren. Gentlemen, I'm not sure who wants to get started, David or Gary?
All right, thank you very much. It's going to be a pleasure to present information on MESA, which is Rotary District 6600's premier international program. And I dragooned the current chair, Gary Newton, past district governor, to share this because he'll have more up-to-date information than I, having been away for almost a couple of years now. However, we have people like Bob Cook and Jim Schrader and a lot of others who are on here that have also been a part of MESA through its development through the years. I do have a PowerPoint presentation that I want to pull up if I can. So let me see if I can find that. And I think that is it. And does that show there yet? What do I have to do? I don't know what I have to do now. I have it on my screen.
We're going to count off by 2s to help you do that. Right, Jim? Is that how it works?
Yeah. Did you press the share screen?
Oh, hell no. All right. Let me see what I have here. There we go. That makes sense. All right. What is MESA? And again, I'm going to be calling on Gary to help fill in some of the blanks here as we go through, but medical equipment supplies abroad, we've been around since I think 1981. We are a nonprofit organization, etc. And as I get into the next slides, I put in a number of people here who have really been a part of MESA through the years, and you're going to notice some names there that are quite familiar to those of us that have been around District 6600 and MESA for quite a while. And I'll just give you a chance to peruse those names for a moment. We have people like Ron Stoner, who was the person who ran MESA for quite a while and was really involved in developing it through the years. And you see some of the other contemporaneous names that are there, as well as people from way back. So we do have a cadre of people that are very familiar with MESA already on this program, and we'll look forward to them to pitch in anytime I make a misstatement or need to be expanded in some way. So feel free to join me, guys and gals. What is MESA? Well, we think it's a champion that can do a world of good. in just about every community, there's a huge wealth of usable medical equipment supplies that aren't in use. And some of them may be in a local hospital, a physician's dentist office, a nursing home, etc. And even in people's own garages, there are often donations that come in the form of wheelchairs or beds and the like, things that are no longer used to us here in the United States or at home. But once we can load them into a container and send them to a country that's very needy, that stuff is gold. And we'll talk more about that as time goes on. As we're making the presentation, particularly those of you that are in Ohio, keep thinking about some of the places in your backyard where there might be equipment that's no longer there. I know in Mansfield, where I spent a long time as a member and out of there as district governor, we were able to obtain all kinds of stuff from hospitals, even for us as far away as Akron, Ohio. Most of the hospital systems are in the process, if they haven't already, of updating their facilities, building new facilities. Nursing homes and the like are constantly developing their facilities and updating the equipment that they have. What do they do with that? Well, very often that simply ends up in a garbage dump somewhere. Just as an example, in Mansfield, the Mansfield Hospital, now part of Ohio Health, built a new building, and they were, among other things, putting in a whole new operating room. Well, they completely abandoned the beds and the lights and cabinets and etc. And they were simply going to take it to the dump. Well, one of our members got wind of that, and we were able to go in and collect that and take it to the warehouse in Fostoria. And I know a lot of that is already in use in some countries not too terribly far from us in the United States. So those are the kinds of things that we want you all to think about, particularly when you begin to think of nursing homes, dentists. A lot of dentists in our community gave up their practice to retire, but we found that they were still in possession of wonderful dental chairs and other kinds of dental equipment. So you just kind of have to use your imagination a little bit to begin to think where this equipment is that means nothing to us anymore. It probably is going to end up in a dump somewhere for recycling. But if we can get it and obtain it and take it to our warehouse, get it sorted, get it containerized, and send it off to a needy country, we're doing a really good job. Let me just talk a moment about MESA and its impact. This is an old slide, by the way, but one is able to capture where some of the MESA equipment has gone. And you see that it's pretty well spread around the world through the years since 1981. We could probably update this with a lot of other countries, but again, we tend to concentrate most of our time now in the Central America area. So a lot of the equipment that we have and are able to send somewhere, it goes there. What are we looking for? Well, it's interesting. If you look at the first column there, crank type hospital beds are gold. So many places we send this equipment, they don't have electricity or they don't have steady continuous electricity. So hospital beds, the old-fashioned kind, we love to get hold of them because they become very handy. But you look down through, and I'm not going to read this to you, you can all read it yourselves, but these are the kinds of things that we're looking for all the time. You can never get enough of most of that kind of stuff. Other humanitarian, we're going to talk about resource and RCI, which is another program we'll talk about in a minute. But we need books, used clothing. Interestingly, about used clothing, we'll have a slide that will show how it's packed into a container, but for ballast and for filling in spaces, we put a lot of clothing on the shipments that go out, but school furniture, the like. Again, you all can see that. We do have some caveats. The equipment must be in working order. The supplies that are of medication and others shouldn't be expired. One of the things that we really need to have when we can get it are the manuals that go with the equipment. If we send a piece of equipment somewhere and they don't know how to use it, or don't have any way to figure it out, that's kind of wasted money. We don't certify dollars of donated items, as most nonprofit organizations don't do that. And we like to have it delivered to the warehouse, and we'll talk about that subsequently also. And we don't like perishables. They don't have a lifespan that's usable usually. Gary, anything you want to add in there?
No, I think you've covered it pretty well. I will say I'll add one thing. We do not accept liquids. We ship these things in 40-foot intermodal containers. Those are containers that go on a truck and a train and a ship. And, oftentimes, particularly when we're going to Central America, the temperatures can reach over 100 degrees in those containers. So liquids just don't travel well in this. So we have restricted ourselves. Unfortunately, there's liquids. We were just talking today about insulin. We would like to ship insulin. We can get some insulin, and insulin's a very expensive item, but when insulin spends a few weeks at 100 degrees, might not do what it's supposed to do. So no liquids.
Gotcha, Gary. And Jim Schrader, you were so much a part of this during my history with MESA. You probably have some things to add in there too. Don't be bashful, which I would be surprised if you ever were. That was a joke.
Let me unmute myself here. I think one of the most interesting things that we did, and it still blows my mind, is pacemakers. Because when they cremate a body, they have to take that pacemaker out because it'll explode. And we collected pacemakers and we're sending those to Central America. Now, I guess there's dates on them, and they were cleaning them up and putting them back in. So we take a little bit of everything, not medication. So,
Gary, do you have any comment on that further?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. Let me just give an example of one that I was familiar with during my time as chair. We had a container that went to basically Mongolia near the Russian border. And it was quite a trip that took us to get there because we're, dealing with very close to Russia at that point. This is a map of the area of Mongolia, and the big lake that's there is Lake Kuskoval. I guess that's how you say that. But the container left from our warehouse and arrived in the central city, capital of Mongolia, where it went in through the customs process. And then it was shipped further northwest towards Kuskoval. Did I say that right? Anyway, we were able to get that there through a very complicated delivery process that was quite interesting along the way. Of course, we deal with customs on both ends. We send something to a country and it goes through the customs inspection process. So this happens to be a sample of some of the customs workers going there. They unload the container, they inspect things backwards and forwards. I mentioned earlier that every inch of space is used. Their stuff that we send, the materials we send, is really stuffed into the container. So we get the biggest bang for the bucks we're spending when we send something anywhere around the world. Again, inspecting more, they have to open things up, take a look at it. Here's one of those beds that I talked about earlier that is really gold in a lot of the countries because electricity just isn't a stable kind of thing that is operational in a lot of the countries. Doesn't look like contraband. Again, they take stuff out and take a good look at it. Examples of medical supplies. These are the typical kinds of things you'd find in any hospital or clinic or perhaps doctor's dentist's office where supplies are very much in need. And setting up the equipment, give you an idea of what some of that might look like on that end.
Dave, if I could interrupt you just one more time.
Please.
Interesting story. We were sending a container to Africa, Zambia. Dr. Was having his eye clinic, and Ron Stoner was loading all this equipment that was on pallets. Ron was taking it off the pallets to put it in the truck to save all the space, like you were saying. And Brumley came in, Dr. Brumley came in and said, "Oh, no, don't take off those pallets. Those pallets will be used as caskets when they get to Africa. Everything in that shipment is used by somebody."
That's a good point. Yeah, nothing is wasted. You are so right. Have a seat, just a exam table. Wheelchairs are really prized also. Those kind of things are very hard to come from in a lot of places. Again, I just emphasize this mechanical bed business. They are very handy because they're able to be operated in just about any kind of condition. All righty, let's talk about the organizational structure. In the MESA articles of development and all, if you're a Rotarian in the district, and that means everybody that's a Rotarian in our E-Club here, you are automatically a member of MESA. So when you update your bios and your job applications and all, make sure you put down you're a member of MESA. It's a cool kind of a thing. Just talking a little bit about the MESA officers at the moment. Our steering committee is, of course, Gary, who's been talking and on here. He's from the St. Mary's Club. Cindy Smith is from Maumee, and she's new, I think, this year. Is she not, Gary?
Yes, she is.
And then Jerry Peacock is the long-term treasurer, and he does a fantastic job. His reports look at MESA every which way, including up and down. So he's a wonderful asset to MESA. Our director of operations is a young man named Scott Salyers. And this young guy, he's young compared to me at least, he has been a real asset to the organization. He has the ability to get things done, and when we obtained the MESA warehouse in Fostoria, it was amazing what he was able to do over time to get that thing in shape and figure out how to save money with utilities and some of the things that were there as part of a factory that we didn't need to have. Just an amazing young man, in my opinion. Gary, do you want to add anything to that?
I will say that Scott is a part-time employee. He's really a half-time employee, or I should say he's paid as a half-time employee. I think his hours worked are closer to full-time. And he does, as David said, he does Gosh, she does repairs on the warehouse, repairs on their trucks, you know, picks up things, you know, drives the forklift to load these containers when they come. You know, just kind of does the whole thing. And he has a lot of contacts with Rotarians and with hospitals. So he, you know, a lot of people contact him when they have things to give MESA. And so he's a very very good employee to have on hand.
Yes, he is. Very personable too.
Yeah.
All righty. How's MESA supported? Well, let's get down to the brass tacks here. We ask all Rotary clubs to make a donation. It's not an assessment or anything, a donation of $6 per member. And this will generate about $14,000 every year. The MESA bike ride, which we'll talk about subsequently also, that generates between $45,000 and $60,000 every year. We have miscellaneous contributions. These are monies that come in from private people, from friends of the organization, anywhere up to $51,000 annually. So our total income at this point in time ranges from about $100,000 to $110,000. Where does it go? Well, it varies. Shipping varies from $50,000 to $60,000 annually. The payroll for the operation directors is $24,000, and operating expenses vary from $26,000 to $36,000 annually. It's a pretty tight budget, and one that we're kind of concerned about this year because of the bike ride may not generate as much as it had in the past. But Gary, I believe you have some other better news about this whole area.
Yes, actually, you know, our big problem looking actually a month ago was that, you know, we did not have a bike ride in 2020. We are scheduled to have a bike ride this September in 2021. We're going to have the MESA bike tour again. And but we have not had one since June of 2019. So that is our major fundraiser, raises approximately half of our annual budget. And so we've been missing that for 2 years. So that was a real problem. And we were looking ahead, actually a month ago in February, we were looking ahead to not having any substantial income really, other than a few donations until September, until our bike ride. And we projected about the time September rolled around, we would be out of money. And that was assuming, again, the big variable there is shipping costs. Each shipment costs around between $5,000 and $6,000 to ship. So, you know, five shipments could be $30,000. So depending on where our shipments have been down this year, but we expect those to pick up. We're working on about 4 different avenues to increase those shipments right now. But I can tell you this past month, Kurt Anderson, who is a MESA bike rider, he's the president of the Elyria Sunrise Club this year, came up with an idea, and he titled it #Stimulus for MESA. And the idea was to send out a letter to every Rotarian in our district, asking them if they had received stimulus funds and did not really need that money, if they would consider giving all or a portion of it to MESA. So that resulted in within the last month, we've gotten a little over $27,000 from that program. So I feel like now, for the first time looking ahead, you know, we can take a deep breath, and we're not going to have financial problems, hopefully. And then when our bike ride comes along in September, I'm counting on that doing a great job this year. It's kind of an unknown. We haven't had it for 2 years. It'll be over 2 years. It'll be about 27 months by the time we get it, since we've had one. So we'll see how that goes, but I'm counting on that doing well this year. So hopefully we've solved our revenue problems this year, and hopefully we'll actually begin shipping some more shipments. I know we do have a couple scheduled before the end of the year, and hopefully even more than that.
Very good. Thanks, Gary. Mesa in photos, we do have displays that we can take out to meetings and all. That's what the container looks like that everything is loaded into. As you can see, another jam-packed container there. We, in the past, have shipped ambulances. We haven't done that in quite a while. There's some caveats with that. If we were to do it anyway, the vehicle can't be more than 10 years old and obviously in running order, working order, well maintained. But there's just so many things that comprise MESA's abilities and its programs. Let's talk about the MESA Bike Tour. Our chairman is Randy Box. He's been chairman, I think, for 2, if not 3 years now. And he's been a fireball of getting the rides organized, setting up the clubs that are on the trail. Generally, we stick into an area in the district, for instance, the Northern District or the district around Toledo and West, or down around St. Mary's area. So getting hold of the clubs, getting them to help sponsor the ride, sponsor overnights for the riders and stuff. It's a lot of work, and he's done a terrific job.
David, I can't add one thing. Just as of today, Randy reported that he has the bike route for this year's ride planned out. He has actually overnight hosts lined up for most of the stops, if not all of the stops, and host clubs for lunches and other things. And this year the ride will be starting in the Ottawa Findlay area. There's a little kind of a pre-ride starts in Ottawa. It really kicks off in Findlay, and then does go down to St. Mary's, New Bremen, Salina, Van Wert, in that area.
That's great. That's good news. Good to hear. Yeah, he's on the ball. He's really good.
Yes, he is.
Yep. This might be a little hard to see, but I wanted to share, since we had the first bike ride, how it has grown over the years. And this last year, you can see there was a bit of an indentation there in the results, but that bike ride really, in many ways, is the heart and soul of what we've been able to do to support the MESA program for about the past 10 years or so.
David, I might add, in that 2020 figure there, we didn't have a bike ride actually in 2020. We had a kind of a virtual walk, run, ride event where people just recorded their own mileage and rode their own course or walked their own course or ran their own course. And that money that's recorded as a bike tour receipts was actually all the money that came in during that time period. So it wasn't just strictly the bike ride money. I think the bike ride or the virtual event we had actually raised about half that total that's shown there. So that bar graph would be much lower if it was actually just reporting the bike ride or the virtual event in this case.
And that's good to know.
Dave, if I could also jump in here, you're showing the bar graph there, the money that we've raised. This all started with a harebrained idea of Ed Stewart over in Elyria. When they rode their bikes to the, was it the 100th convention in Chicago?
Yes.
And they thought, well, boy, this is not much fun. We need to have something to support. So thanks to those fellas and gals who had the idea, this is what has been the lifeblood of MESA for the last few years. So thank Ed Stewart the next time you see him.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Jim. That was an excellent point. All right. One of the facets of MESA is Rotary Centers International. And our good friend from the Sylvania Rotary Club, Mel Honig, has been adding, holding this every year. He, again, collects mostly school kinds of supplies. He set up quite a number of classrooms in Belize and a number of other places in that general area. He's done a tremendous job. We house the stuff he collects at the warehouse in Fostoria. He pretty much runs his own show. In my opinion, there isn't any real strain on MESA in terms of what he does, but he really is providing an excellent resource for young people in the countries where he's working. Gary, anything more to add?
Yes, I can tell you, Mel is leaving this Friday for Belize with a team, and he's going to be down there 9 days. They sent a shipment down last fall, but they've had trouble getting into the country, and actually the schools are closed down there. But they're going to go down and set this up. And one of the big areas that they set up is computers. And so he's got some people with some expertise. They of course load all this educational software onto the computers, and then those are used in the preschools and things down there. So he'll be going down there this week on another mission to set that up. And then Mel is also going to Paraguay in May. And that's kind of both an RCI and a MESA trip. He's kind of scouting out some opportunities for actually medical shipments and for RCI shipments. So Mel's still very much involved with RCI and with MESA. And David's right, he takes up a very little amount of space in the warehouse. Mel raises a lot of his own funding to pay for the shipments. So he's really done a great job. And I can tell you, just as an example of a donation, he got a contact with, I hope I get this right, Blanchard Valley Health Systems in Findlay. And he will be getting a couple hundred computers as a result of that. They were replacing their computers. So Mel's going to get those, and he'll recondition all those, load them up with educational software, and they'll be going off in the future to somewhere.
Yeah, that was a Findlay Rotarian keeping their ear to the ground. And when they found out the hospital was updating, what are you going to do? And we're going to get those computers. While you have the floor, why don't you see if anybody out there has a project that MESA could help them through rotary to rotary. But we're looking for good projects to support, and we've got equipment. We got to get it out of the warehouse.
Yeah, that's right. And we have been focused on Central America, but we're looking now at Paraguay and Mexico and actually Guatemala with some different organizations than we were working with before. But David just showed you a shipment to Mongolia. MESA's actually shipped to 5 continents: Africa, Asia, Europe, North America, South America. So any place in the world is a possibility. So if you know of any place that could use MESA's assistance, we would be glad to hear about it. And again, we have to have actually a Rotary Club on the ground, because when these things are shipped, then they fall into the hands of that Rotary Club on the ground once they arrive in the country, and they're responsible for getting the shipment to its ultimate destination. So yeah, we'd be glad to hear, MESA's in the 3 legs of MESA are really collecting items, raising funds to support the mission, and then shipping items. So if we do the first 2, but we don't do the last one, if we don't ship anything, we're really not achieving MESA's mission. So we would like to get some shipments going.
And it's nice when and if we can get the recipient Rotary Club to participate financially also. That
Yes,
doesn't happen very often, but sometimes it can happen. All right, just going ahead. This is a Belize mission that Mel had in 2014, and just some of the people that were there. He had the Rotary Club of Sylvania, his Rotary Club, involved, and those were some of the people that participated. The Rotarians were the ones with their name on it, and I know that this guy was very helpful with setting up those computers that Gary talked about. They wipe the computers clean and they install software, make sure they're working before they leave them behind. So it's a very interesting but somewhat complicated process that RCI goes through. Again, setting up the classroom. Here's the guy doing some programming. But you know, down here is what it's all about. These were supplies just coming off, and those youngsters were already into the books and into the materials that were sent. So you can see that it's a very compelling kind of program that Mel's running. All righty, where can you get more information? Well, we do have a website, rotarymesa.org. Not most of, but a lot of what I say, plus basic identifying information, you can get it from the website. There's another program that many Rotarians in our district have participated in, and that's the Uniendo Conference. This happens to be one that I could pull up from 2013, where it was in El Salvador. But Gary told me that this coming year, the year we're in, be held virtually in Panama. So the opportunity to go to these project fairs, meet people, learn firsthand what the needs are, maybe to fall in love with a project that's presented to you for your club. This is one excellent way to bring that all about. All righty. Usually I have this PowerPoint on a different program, so these things come up, but I thought I would just test you. When was MESA formed? 1981. Who are the members? Every Rotarian in District 6600. Who are some of the trustees? Well, the district governor, immediate past district governor, DGEs, secretary, treasurer, president. And Gary, I know we have a lot of new people involved since I've been able to be a part of it. It's a great group of people coming together. Scott Salyers is the director. The Mesa Bike Tour presents a lot of funding there. Where can you get information? International, Uniendo, and our website for specific information. So recapping, you are MESA. Without our help, it doesn't exist. So particularly those of you that are back in the district, if you know of a facility, hospital, nursing home, dentist office, doctor's office that is upgrading or even going out of business, don't let them take that stuff to the dump. Let's try to capture it. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the presentation that I have. I'm going to give Gary Newton another little plug. Hopefully he will come back to our club and talk about his wife and his own project back to that same area of the world. Want to give us a promo on that, Gary?
well, I can tell you, as a matter of fact, our Mongolia, we came up with a global grant a few years ago, and actually about 4 years ago now. My wife Deb and I went to Mongolia, and we found a need for a birthing simulation center. We have several of those in our district. It trains really midwives, doctors, nurses, difficult birth situations and when to recognize those situations. So we found a need for that in Mongolia. They listed that as their #1 need. So we came up with a global grant, raised the funds. It was a long process as global grants are. We got that approved at the start of 2020, or actually at the end of 2019. And then our global grant involved the purchase of this birthing simulation center and associated equipment, and 2 vocational training teams traveling, one from Mongolia to here and one from here to Mongolia. And then, of course, the coronavirus hit and canceled all travel involving global grants. So I talked to the foundation last fall, got them to separate out the equipment portion and the travel portion. And so they now have funded the equipment portion, which was about actually 80% of the total grant. The total grant was $190,000. So they separated that out, and the equipment should be delivered in Mongolia this month, in the month of April. And it's going to the Mongolian National University of Medical Science. So they do have some people there who can utilize the equipment, hopefully without interaction with us. They have doctors that have been trained, overseas. Although they don't have any of those centers in Mongolia, they have staff that are familiar with it that have been trained overseas on that equipment. So hopefully that equipment will be in place. And this was a long process. Started really back in, I think, around 2015 with the idea to do this, and so this month it should be coming to fruition in Ulaanbaatar, the capital city, and but that'll train people from all over Mongolia.
Gary, you do have a presentation with your wife on this, don't you?
Actually, I do it myself. I might involve my wife now. My wife retired last November. So when I was doing these presentations, she was working. She was supporting me so I could go around and do these presentations. So now she may get a chance to be involved with them.
I think it'd be a great presentation.
Yeah.
With your slides and all, because you have some dandy slides that kind of curl your hair. So
I can tell you, Mongolia, just for those of you who don't know, Mongolia, we made the mistake of going in January. Let me just give you a tip. This is a good life tip here. Don't go to Mongolia in January. We went there, and it was an unusually cold January, but not extremely unusually cold. But the temperatures while we were there ranged from -25 to -40. So at the high while we were there was -25. And that's Fahrenheit, and that's not with the wind chill. That's -25 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's an unusually cold place. Ulaanbaatar is the coldest capital city in the world. I think its average year-round temperature is 19 degrees. So very cold. So don't go there in January. I think it's much better in the summertime.
hey, Bob Cook, are you still there? He was part of developing.
David, take your share screen off.
All right. I can figure that out. Where do I do that now? There, you did it for me. That's great. All right. I don't know whether Bob's still there, and Bob might want to.
I am, Dave. Thank you for your presentation. And so I really appreciate everybody who's put so much time and effort into MESA for so many years. It's been a labor of love for a whole lot of people. And I was fortunate to be there at the start, but in matter of fact, MESA's been reinvented so many times by so many people. There's a whole list of founders of MESA because it's just kind of morphed over the years. And I really give credit to a lot of people, including several who are on this call tonight, for all that they've given.
Right. Well, we're glad that you were involved in it and got it going because it's a God